卵は割ってみなければ、その中に何が入っているのかわからないものだよ。
You have to break an egg if you are to know what's inside. Yeah, I'd watch this one first if you can. Angel's Egg or Tenshi No Tamago is a classically overlooked film from 1985 that defies explanation. Brought to us by the beautiful minds of director Mamoru Oshii, the man behind Ghost in the Shell, and acclaimed artist Yoshitaka Amano, best known for his work on every single Final Fantasy game, among many others. Not only is this movie breathtakingly gorgeous, hypnotic, and horrifying, but it has continued to baffle the minds of not only its audience, but its own creators since its inception. It ties together Christianity, Japanese traditional beliefs, and cosmic Lovecraftian horror seamlessly. Along with Berserk, it even inspired Hidetaka Miyazaki's creation of Dark Souls and Bloodborne. So here we are, delaying Fist of the North Star because Angel's Egg is just that damn good. It's something that needs to be talked about, because sometimes discourse is the best way to break through a shell. This is Tenshi No Tamago. Let's get into it. Hey, look at us covering an extremely obscure topic regardless of YouTube wanting us to only cover things that are trendy. And look, you're here, which means you like this kind of stuff too. Well, the only reason that we can do this is because of our patrons who love movies like this just as much as we do. And we're all over there waiting for you. So why not look into it? Just saying. On with the show. At the opening of Angel's Egg, we're given a glimpse of the fetus of a bird sleeping in a giant egg wrapped in and being held up by what looks to be giant vines. We're then shown a giant ship of some sort descending to the earth with what can only be described as a glowing iridescent eye in its core. Whistles scream like the sirens from War of the Worlds, and we get a closer look at the stoic statues which adorn this mass's giant hull. Far off in the distance, a white-haired man standing next to some sort of mechanical contraption stares unflinchingly at this ship as it plows into the surface of the earth. The scene goes dark as one of the only lines in the movie rings out.
あなたは誰?
Who are you? Spoiler alert, we never find out. However, there are two things that we 100% know about Angel's Egg as a film. A, Mamoru Oshii, the director, was dealing with a major crisis of faith while creating this story, and B, he admits that he doesn't even know what it's about. The funny thing is, though, is that there's definitely an answer here, even if it's a bit open-ended, because this movie came from a human's mind. Even if he hasn't unraveled his feelings to this day, the intent is in the presentation. We also know that as a piece of cinema, let alone an anime, Angel's Egg stands apart from the rest. It is truly an expression of emotion through art simply for the sake of doing it, or even more so, because Oshii had to do it. Because sometimes you have to let your feelings out and place them somewhere else. And at first it wasn't well received in Japan and caused Oshii job troubles for years, but now, after we've had time to let it sink in, Angel's Egg is a revered cult classic. As the shrill tone of the vessel's whistles leak out into the distance, a young girl awakens and looks outside, revealing she'd been sleeping with a large egg. She looks out her porthole at a harbor city in the dawn light, and then we get the title. Instantly, the color tone of the movie shifts from red to blue. There's no telling how much time has passed or what has happened in between, but we follow the girl as she silently travels past strange stone monuments through a tangled, gnarled forest and eventually into the city, all along clutching her egg and only stopping to get a drink of water from the drug she carries. The atmosphere is oppressive and lonely, and as the girl begins to wander about the city, it becomes apparent that this place is an unoccupied gothic skeleton, as dead as fossilized bones. Every single piece of architecture is jagged, dark, uninviting, or just twisted. Suddenly, the man from the beginning shows up riding along some kind of biomechanical tanks. It's clear that the girl fears the man. She runs away to continue, well, whatever it is she's doing, looting empty shops for food, passing by statues of whalers. When she stops at a pool to retrieve more water, she goes to return to her resting spot, only to find the man holding her egg. The girl looks violated, but he gives it back, stating,
大切なものはお腹の中に入れておかなければ なくしてしまうよ。
Keep precious things inside you, or else you will lose them. She then snatches the egg back to quickly tie it back up in her dress. So before we go any farther, let's take a second to talk about exactly what a crisis of faith is, because it isn't something that is inherently tied to religion. Most of us hold certain things to be true, infallible, and unbreakable. These beliefs guide us through life, help us dictate our actions, as well as help us plan out our futures. For some, it's belief in family or love, government or the law or justice. For others, it's religion, spirituality. Pick your poison. However, sometimes people run into a situation where their faith is shaken, or worse, irreversibly broken. Now, I'm a dude of Irish descent from Massachusetts, so obviously my family was Catholic. I wasn't forced to go to church, but I was raised on faith. However, when I was about 12 and started thinking for myself, I found some holes in God's plot and just walked away entirely. It was a huge deal for my mom, but not really for me. What did me in was realizing that I'm definitely going to die one day. Like, it's obvious, I always knew that, but one day, it just really hit me. I have a short amount of time. I have a lot of things I want to do. What if I don't get them done? Honestly, I'm still working through it. But for Oshi, it was earth-shattering when he lost his belief in Christianity, and there's good reason for that. With God, you always have an answer. You always have something to count on. No matter how hard your struggles are, you have heaven to look forward to. If somebody dies, you know you'll be with them again one day. God will always be there for you, and the earth, a father figure to guide you, to discipline you. Losing that is truly, finally, completely accepting that you are alone in the world, that there is no one and nothing looking out for you, that we all die alone, and that end is the end, and it is truly forever and final. It's terrifying to be thrust out of the nest of belief like that, and once it's gone, it's gone. However, from the outside, faith is kind of a beautiful thing. It's innocent, almost childlike, the ability to completely immerse yourself in a belief so much that it colors your world. I think we see this in the little girl and her egg. Though she asks the man not to follow her, he does anyway, and eventually she just accepts it and even warms up to him. But then the fish come, and with them, the whalers. Now this is an intense spectacle out of nowhere. All of a sudden, the hordes of what seem to be statues spring to life, chasing the shadows of giant coelacanths. They launch their harpoons at the shadows with the ferocity of men who haven't eaten in eons, but catch nothing but their surroundings, destroying everything in their wake. Even though the fish aren't anywhere, they chase after them, even though there aren't any fish anywhere. After this event, the girl asks the man to promise not to do anything to her egg, and she walks him back the way she came, back to her home.
お願い。私の卵に何にもしないって約束して。
Inside this cavernous place are floors upon floors of what looks like rock faces riddled with fossilized skeletons of huge ancient animals. It's just as, if not more oppressive, than the dead rainy city that they came from. Along with the never-ending walls and stairs are jugs of water like the one the young girl filled in the city. In the main chamber stands a stone relief of a giant tree, and the man admits to seeing a tree like it before, but doesn't remember where or when. He does, however, remember the tree sucking the life from the earth, and in its branches was held the egg of a giant bird, and that bird is still there, and it's still dreaming. When asked what the bird dreams of, he simply asks what's in the girl's egg. Ironically, either one of them could have said anything in reply, but neither answer. Upon seeing the girl add to the never-ending jugs of water, the man asks her how long she's been here, only to learn that she too suffers from some sort of memory loss. Then the man begins to talk of the Great Flood, along with Noah and his ark. And for those who aren't Bible savvy, basically one day God decided to flood the world and kill everything, so it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, flooding the earth. One dude named Noah built an ark and took 2 of every animal on it to ride out the storm, and eventually he sent out a bird to check for land. The bird returned with an olive branch, confirming dry ground, and boom, we're all officially inbred. However, the man's story begins the same, but ends differently. The bird never came back. The people waited so long they forgot there was even a bird, or that maybe any of it happened at all. Perhaps it was a dream, or a dream of somebody else. But the girl is convinced of the bird's existence and shows the man a skeleton with wings and claws, but a very human-like head and body, yet its design is still entirely alien. She proclaims that she's going to hatch that bird and put it back. The man's reply is strange. I know that. I thought so. Then we finally get a good look at where the two are staying, and it's clearly a massive, towering ark of some kind. And while resting in it, the girl is cuddling her egg. The man asks her if she can hear something from it. She says she hears breathing. He says that it's her breathing. She says she can hear the sound of wings. He says it's the wind. She says the bird will wake up soon, but for now it has to stay in the egg where it doesn't rain and where it's warm. She falls asleep, and the man crushes the egg. Now that was a lot, and there is a lot to take from it. My issue is that a lot of the time when people try to analyze this film, they get too lost in one hole or another, which ironically is against what I think the point of this movie is. When a person makes art during a traumatic time in their lives, what comes of it isn't always concrete, because where their head is at the time is in chaos. And I've been there, I've written songs I only understood years later, but I think what we have here with Angel's Egg is a feverish nightmare of multiple things. But let's wrap up that ending. That's what happens to your insides when everything you held onto for so long is irreparably shattered. The girl runs to find the man as she exits where she fell asleep, and it took me a couple times to notice this, but she's no longer coming out of an ark, but instead a castle where a tree has grown up through the center and is now holding a giant egg with a sleeping bird. She finally catches up to the man, but falls into a ravine just short of him, sinking into its watery depths. She's confronted and consumed by an older version of herself who drowns, but not before releasing all of her air, which upon hitting the surface takes the shape of hundreds of eggs. Meanwhile, the city is flooding and the man is standing with his weapon on the beach as feathers fall all around him. He looks to the horizon as each of the eggs is raised up upon another gnarled tree in which are held more giant sleeping birds. As the man looks placidly out to the horizon to see the ship rise again from the earth, now adorned with the statue of a young girl holding her egg. It is the only statue with any individualistic design. Angel's Egg is truly a Rorschach test. What you get from it is what you went into it with. It tells you something about yourself, just like the ink blots we project our subconscious onto. It's easy to say, oh, the girl was innocent and the man broke that innocence. Same with, oh, the egg represents faith and it's shattered so the girl becomes an adult and dies. Or, yeah, the man was definitely Noah and the girl was the bird or an angel sent there to test Noah's faith yet again. Going a little bit deeper, it's easy to stumble into the obvious, the shadowfish represent Jesus. He's symbolized by fish. His followers were called fishermen sometimes. There's even a coelacanth in the stained glass window of the church. Maybe the whalers represent blind faith and its destructive aspects, or even organized religion and the dangers of too many people believing in the same thing. Or obviously the ship is God and the girl goes there when she dies like she would heaven because she kept her faith in the end. However, all of this, while possible and even very likely, I think only scratches the surface of what we witness here. What of the stone monuments? What of the dead city, the birds within their eggs, the evil looking trees in which those eggs are held? What of what the bird dreams? What I find most interesting about this movie is how it does so much with so little, and it covers so much without saying half of what I have already. Each one of the aforementioned symbols is enough to do a video on alone. However, none of them fully represent the film for what it is. And yes, there are many Christian overtones in Angel's Egg, but there's also Japanese undertones as well. The idea of reincarnation is not actually a Japanese aspect of faith, but it is a Buddhist one. And next to their native religion, Shintoism, which is primarily the exaltation of the kami, Buddhism is easily the second largest religious sect in the country and pervades much of Japanese history. The idea of Buddhist reincarnation, the rebirth of a human soul, is directly contradictory to the Christian's idea of heaven, which is also very different than the Shinto depiction of heaven. As a Christian Japanese man, Oshii had all of these forces, along with the modern religion of science, constantly fighting in his head his entire life. And all of these are present within his film. The white-haired man's cross is also clearly a gun of some kind. The ship with the eye that has a godlike presence is mechanical in design. The man first appears amongst a parade of strange machines. People also like to talk about the water symbolism in this film, and yes, water is important not only in the story of Noah as a cleansing force for the world, but for Jesus as well in his baptism. However, water is seen as a feminine symbol in Japan. When the young girl becomes matured in the end, she drowns in water. And then from that water emerges new eggs. Water is also extremely important to Shinto for purification before visiting shrines, as well as Buddhists. The whole idea of becoming like water and letting things flow is a very Eastern concept in and of itself. Water is a symbol for life, so I think it's no coincidence that the young girl spends each and every day bringing water to the dead animals in the ark as if in reverence, like she's taking care of them, maintaining them as one would do for a kami. Or perhaps she's doing it to purify the place like a priest with holy water. You see what I mean? Everything is jumbled and mushed together in this strange menagerie that is Tenshi no Tamago. However, what I see in Oshii's work, no matter how hard I attempt to look past it, is fractured dread. Here was a man whose entire world image was shattered 34 years into his life. That is a long time to believe in something only to lose it. What I see in Angel's Egg is the inside of a man who is deeply afraid of life without a savior. The ship, this eye of God, is horrifying, alien, ominous. Its eye is cold and unfeeling. When it disappears, the world is left dark and cold, and the city echoes this unflinchingly harsh outlook. The ghosts of men hunt the ghosts of ancient fish in a dead city like their lives depend on it when they have no life to begin with. It's obvious that this happens regularly over and over again, this repetitious cycle of futility. Even the church mocks their never-ending struggle with the image of the fish in the only colored work of art to see. The Ark is a tome of terror full of dead, alien-looking monsters, and the bird, the angel, which the girl hopes to hatch, is nothing but another terrifying, unknowable life form. Even the trees, which resemble the tree of life, suck the light out of everything around them to hold aloft the forever sleeping birds in their protective shells. The man and the girl don't know who they are, they simply exist without direction, likely repeating the same steps every day. And in the end, despite all her effort, there wasn't even anything in the girl's egg at all. And what about the man, the guy who carries the cross, his wrappings around his hand where Jesus was nailed to his crucifix? In the end, he's left on the beach as the camera zooms out, revealing all that exists is the island he stands on in a great sea. An island which looks a lot like an overturned ark, like the dream is dead. But here's something, no one likes to talk about the birds, but in the movie, both the man and the girl do talk about dreams. Now this might seem like a tangent, but stick with me. I'm sure you've heard of Cthulhu. You know, giant monster from space, lives in the sea, has a cult, super powerful, horrible, too much to be understood by the human mind, etc. Well, he was invented by H.P. Lovecraft, a prolific horror novelist from the early 1900s, and a man who lived in constant fear. He was a notorious shut-in and a racist from a wealthy family in Rhode Island whose existentialist approach to horror personified the fear that lives inside a man like Oshii was in 1985. You see, without God, there are no rules, therefore there is no understanding, and worst of all, no significance. Now, Lovecraft dreamed of a deity who lived at the center of the universe called Azathoth. It's a mass of incomprehensible teeth and tentacles and other horrific, unspeakable appendages. It's said that all of existence, perhaps even Azathoth himself, is but a dream of Azathoth. And if he was to wake up, we would all be simply blinked out of existence. When his descendant Cthulhu came to Earth eons ago, he built a city and adorned it with impossible stone structures, a lot like what we see in Stonehenge and other ancient wonders, along with the stones that line the hills of the island in Angel's Egg. And while features like this captivate us, they still represent a complete unknown. Did humans make Stonehenge, the pyramids, and the ziggurats, or were they left here for us by something we truly do not comprehend? Fear of the unknown is the most primal fear. It's possible that what we see here in this film has happened before, or millions of times over and over. There's no saying how often these two will have their memory erased. The Ark is filled with thousands of jugs of water. It's also possible that the first scene of the movie is the exact instance the realm these two inhabit came into existence. But what's clear is that it doesn't matter, because it doesn't mean anything. Angel's Egg is extremely nihilistic. There is no hope in the end, as the man stands alone on the beach of the tiny island. We can't tell if anything has changed or if he's just restarted a cycle, but there is a hint. In the beginning of the film, we first see a hand, and then we see a bird, and then we meet the man. And I posit that the entirety of this film takes place inside the dream of a bird. It's even hinted at. He's still there, still dreaming. The bird I saw, I can't even remember where or when. It was so long ago. Perhaps it was a dream. Maybe you and I and the fish exist only in the memory of a person who is gone. Maybe no one really exists and it's only raining outside. Maybe the bird never existed at all. In the end, when we see all the birds held in the clutches of the trees, I think we are truly seeing what Oshi felt about existence after he lost his god. That perhaps we all merely exist in the dreams of another being. Dreams within dreams within dreams. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Mike. I am very flattered that you liked this video enough to stay all the way till the end. This Bonsai Pop here is a Patreon-driven channel, which means that we are supported by Patreon. So we make our content for us and we make our content for our patrons. So if you like this is the kind of stuff that we do, and this is the kind of stuff that we and our patrons like. So if you're interested in that, definitely recommend checking out our Patreon. Our patron of the week is Bob the Realist. My dude, thank you so much for being part of the Patreon and helping support this channel. And we have a whole backlog of Super Saiyan gods to go through, so we have also created a raffle for that. This week, Hannah Me is our Super Saiyan god. Hannah, you are awesome. Thank you so much for always being in the viewing parties, which we do regularly, almost every week now. And it's a ton of fun, so thank you so much. And you guys made this video possible, so thank you to all of our patrons for being awesome. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at bonsai_pop. That is twitch.tv bonsai_pop, where I stream and do things. So hopefully we will see you guys in the future. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like it, I recommend checking out our backlog or even subscribing if you would like. And we'll be back next week, 10 a.m. on Saturday as usual. Until then, stay safe, stay chill. My name is Mike, this is Bonsai Pop, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.